I'm loving Silent Hill. I
Okay.
think the vibe is so. I love survival horror. I love horror in general.
Mm.
And to be completely clear, right? It's your first Silent Hill?
For Silent Hill.
Okay. So
Cool.
And so
how
that's the
far
thing. I
into it? Go on.
cannot talk about what it's like and if it is a real, true Silent Hill game or
Yeah.
any of that. I can only talk to it as my experience as playing this game with fresh eyes.
Yes.
I don't want to say when in the story I am, but I feel like I'm right about to hit the ending, the first ending. Because
Okay,
I
cool.
hear
Okay.
the second ending recontextualizes a lot
It
and
does.
makes everything. So I
Yeah.
will be, that's this weekend that I will be doing that. I think in terms of things that I think it really nails, and I think I said this when I played it at Gamescom, is that I'm nosy. And I love hearing Hinako's inner monologue as it is written through her diary. I love to understand more about how she is understanding what is happening to her and talks about her friends and talks about her family. And I think the fact that it is done in the using the diary instead of just having the actress like speak
Say
it,
it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is much more
Like Aloy.
impactful. Yeah,
It's a good diary. It's a good diary.
It's a really good diary.
It's
Yeah,
a really
I
beautiful
agree.
diary. But I think it just in terms of the horror, I think what really intrigues me and the thing that I like the most about it is that even from the very beginning, I was immediately over analyzing everything that other characters were saying, that Hinako was saying. There's a point, so like the very first scene is your dad is arguing with your mum, and you as Hinako, like it's very clear that your dad has a lot of resentment about you in particular. And they do a thing where it's like you don't see their faces, but your dad's face anyway, and it cuts to showing a bottle of beer just like rolling over. And so when I went to walk into the town, the first thing I was doing was looking at all of the placement of beer bottles and other things in the environment, because I was like, sometimes she'll comment on things, like there'll be little magazines or something that talks about what a perfect woman should be. And sometimes there'll be beer bottles and she would comment on it, wow, who's drinking during the day? Like, that's weird, that kind of thing. And it immediately kind of conditioned me from the very beginning to just look at everything. And it's so funny when you have a horror game that really forces you to slow down. And a lot of Silent Hill F, I think, is pretty slow. But I think I'm getting so much more enjoyment out of it because of that, and because I'm meticulously reading every single journal entry. I am backtracking all of the time in every area that I'm in to make sure I don't miss a single thing.
Yeah, and to mention too, like a lot of the lore and like the scrap pages and notes you pick up first playthrough, especially, like you're like, oh, who's this about? What are they talking about? What is this? Changing the world about?
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot of that.
there's a lot of that, and I think in terms of the puzzles, so I'm playing on story difficulty hard puzzles, which is what they recommended at least for your first playthrough.
Yeah.
I love the challenge of the puzzles. I have been having just such a good time taking notes and making sure that, I mean, there's like a kind of maths adjacent one when you get to the school, and I was like, this is my time. This is my time. I remember in Alan Wake 2 when there were actual math puzzles, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
we're back. We're so
Were
back,
they?
baby.
I can't remember those.
Some of the some of the boxes, like the prepper boxes or whatever.
Oh, I do remember
actual
those now.
maths
Yep,
equations you had to do.
absolutely. Yep, sure.
I love that. I love that. I think the kind of the combat is the one thing that everyone calls out. And I was talking about it with Kurt today. Kurt, who has now, by the way, finished it 7 times.
Oh my god!
He has
so
every single ending.
Is that because he loves it or because he had to?
Both.
Okay.
Well, no, it was like, because he was like, I'm going to replay it and see if I can get every ending. And then I think at one point he actually biffed it and missed a big thing, so he didn't get the ending. So he went back and he did it because he was really enjoying it. But I was talking to him about it, and we both were saying that we got to the place where the combat at the beginning, it doesn't feel very good. There's not, it does, straight up, just doesn't feel very good. And it is not the thing that I am there for. But by the sort of, a few hours in, it is a thing that I accept and I know how to deal with. And I'm confident enough in it and I'm familiar enough in it that it does not ruin my actual gameplay experience.
I did
Mm.
feel like there was too much of it.
There is more
Agreed.
than I
Especially at the back
really.
end.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
back end by the back end, and this is the problem with the way it is structured. I love that. I love a survival horror game where it's like you got to replay it again because there's more
Mm,
stuff, and they do a
mm.
really good job enticing that and making that palatable because they add so much stuff in more playthroughs. But by the end of the first playthrough, I was like, I don't want to fucking kill all those guys again, man. I'm done
Sure,
with
sure.
this. So I
Hear
had to
that.
like take a beat before I jump back in.
Mhm.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it was like towards the end, it was too many combat arenas where it was like you
Yes.
have to kill all these things,
Yeah.
and I was like,
For
I don't
sure.
love that.
Yeah. And some of them, some of the encounters are kind of just bullshit. Like, I definitely hit in the window, or I definitely dodged that. And so there is frustration there for
Mm,
sure. In terms of vibes, in terms of story, I'm really, really digging it, and I just can't wait to see
mm,
how it ends. I again was talking about this with Kurt. I love that Resident Evil is like Resident Evil. I feel like, especially with 9, especially as Resident Evil's gotten bigger and bigger, it's not going to be as really fucked up as I want it to be.
yeah.
I think it will
Yeah.
kind of always hold back a bit. Silent Hill, at least from F,
Mm.
I hope it goes more fucked up. I like how it is just messed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
it's essentially like Resident Evil, especially like early Resident Evil, is for like boys who love comic books and dumb shit, and then
Yeah.
Silent Hill is for people who like read books and are sad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's good. And honestly, like this Silent Hill still feels like that to me. We can get
Mm.
into like what makes a Silent Hill game. It's kind of up to the fan, but uh yeah, I don't, Ralph, where are you at with this?
Yeah, look, I really loved it.
Yeah.
I really did, and I think it's very. And as I was playing it, I knew that it was going to be a very divisive title in the sort of Silent Hill anthology or whatever you want to call it, whatever. Um, I was very, very drawn in by its setup. I was very drawn in by its and engaged by its storytelling. I really felt like, they Ryokishi Seven, the author, was obviously trying to keep many elements at arm's length from you as a player. Like you could guess what this was about,
mm,
and you never really knew though, because that was
Yeah.
the point. He
I
wanted
love
you
that.
to guess. And it's like, and so those answers, because I haven't done multiple endings yet, but it's like, those answers do eventually come, and some of them are going to be satisfying and some of them are not. But I feel like the space that he provides as an author is kind of the most interesting thing, because I actually care more about my interpretations of the story than the story itself, which I know is going to be a weird thing to say, and I'm sure people will, like, clip that shit or whatever. But the truth, that is the truth. Like, maybe a story ends up disappointing me, but if it's like led me along and given me genuine space to interface with its elements and like think about them and come up with my own conclusions about things, my own theories, I really appreciate that a lot, even if the ending doesn't quite stick the landing, because I've
Mm,
gone through a very stimulating thought exercise during it. And that's what Silent Hill F was to me more than anything else. It was trying to pick apart this thing and guess what it was really trying to say. Some parts of it, there was a lot of clarity and it felt very rewarding. Other parts, it was just more question marks. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to keep going. Um, but I think the fact that it was willing to do that was great. I think the themes it was dealing with were really interesting. It obviously wasn't holding back, and it didn't feel like there was it was running things through a filter, which most games we play these days do. Like 98% of the games that we all play and talk about on this podcast, they're pretty chill. They're not really very confronting in terms of their themes and topics and imagery and whatever else.
yeah.
Sure, like Wolverine drives his claws into some dude's skull. That's just cartoon violence.
mm,
There's other violence in this game, which is symbolic violence, which has a lot of meaning. And it's kind of like, if you really look at that violence and combine it with what, Hinako's saying in her diary and what it means within like the broader story, it really affects you. Really, you really think about it and it stays with you. That sort of imagery is very powerful. So
Yeah.
I loved it for all
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, like you know what I'm talking about. There are some scenes where you're like, "Whoa, okay."
mhm,
So the gameplay stuff, I totally agree, and it's exactly what I said in my review, which is I'm like, combat's not great. I don't think it's terrible either. I don't think,
Yeah.
oh, this is the worst, and I think many people are saying that it actually is horrifically bad combat, and I think I can understand how you think that. I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to say. It's just that I don't really care that much. Like, it kind of hits a minimum bar where I'm like, okay, well, I'm not frustrated playing this. I'm not like, this is terrible. I just kind of get through the combat in order to
Mm.
progress the story and learn more about the world and see a new environment and all that sort of stuff. So for me, that's always been how combat exists in Silent Hill games. So I just was never
Yeah.
bothered by that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and as I said in my review, I'm like, personally, I think this combat is better than Silent Hill 2 remake, right? For the simple reason that like it feels thematically fitting. Whereas, Silent Hill 2 remake, James was just such a powerhouse and he was so like strong and relentless and he could animation cancel and he had no fear. You didn't have to be scared of anything in Silent Hill 2 remake because he was
Yeah.
so powerful and untiring. But here with the stamina bar and the sanity meter and the limited resources and yada yada, like yeah, I really kind of had to I felt engaged in combat. It felt like it made sense to not engage every foe and run away when I could, you know?
Yeah.
I felt that tension and that weakness, and I felt moments where my stamina bar was empty and they were going in for a haymaker, and I was like, okay, this is going to happen now. Nothing I can do to stop it, right?
Yeah.
That I appreciated.
I'm with you because like
Mm.
as much as I had my issues with it, it's weird how much I enjoyed when I took a big swing
Yeah.
and completely missed,
Yeah.
and the animation is so slow that you go,
Yes.
"Oh no," which like you
Right.
don't get that feeling anymore in like a survival
Yeah.
horror game. So I like that.
Exactly where I was at
Mhm.
with it. Yeah. So I think that I as I said, I was a huge fan. I really, really liked it. I liked it, and then I think there's a broader conversation about whether or not this was a Silent Hill game. And just so
Mm,
you know, like the Silent Hill subreddit is now officially kind of like semi locked down
Oh,
because the
wow,
conversation
really?
over there has become so it's not locked down, but like there's a lot of moderation going on right
Yeah.
now. And the mods have actually just put up a post about it 9 hours ago saying today we will be cracking down on toxicity in this community, and I can definitely see their feed that the wall here has clearly been very, very moderated because
Mhm.
there is just so much angry discussion about this game on subreddit, and and I've definitely experienced in my own comment section and whatever else. To be clear, the Silent Hill community, it's a challenging community to interface with sometimes. Okay,
always,
no,
yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Like they have their idea of what a Silent Hill game is, and to this day, whenever I mention like the Silent Hill 2 remake in like a really complimentary way, there's a lot of angry comments being like that. No, actually, it sucks and whatever else. Keep in mind, this is a game that on Steam is overwhelmingly positive, 95%. Silent Hill 2 Remake, on balance, people love it. But the Silent Hill fandom is extremely engaged and they have very specific views about what they like and they don't like. So I'm not going to tell them they're right or wrong. All I'm saying is that I knew that Silent Hill fans are going to have some strong thoughts about this video game. And they
Mm.
clearly do, to the point where the subreddit is now being actively moderated. And in a way, I get it. But at the same time, this is not a mainline Silent Hill game. It's Silent Hill F. It's a spin-off kind of thing. It's set in a new setting. They're not saying that this is the next official, this is not Silent Hill, whatever. Like it's the thing that they're doing. It's clearly taking some creative risks.
Mm.
And I think that that's okay. You know what I mean? I don't mind that it's not set in Silent Hill. I don't mind that the connections to the franchise aren't that strong. I
No,
think
and
that
I was skeptical. I was the one who was like, "I don't know about this.
yeah.
It's a departure." But I like for me, I come to Silent Hill for like like meh combat and like some
Mm,
okay survival horror elements, but good puzzles, storytelling, vibe and atmosphere, and like uh, subject matter, like taboo subject matter, and like
mm,
uncomfortable feelings. That's always
Mhm.
been my thing with Silent Hill since I saw a magazine ad for the first game. It was like
mm,
that makes me feel uncomfortable,
mm,
and
mm, mm,
this
mm.
game still has that for
That's
sure.
it. To me, I think that's the foundational element of Silent Hill, right? And obviously Silent Hill fans are going to feel really different, but like the
Mhm.
foundational element for me is like psychological trauma and how that can manifest in a dangerous, oppressive game world that you need to survive. And I think on that basis, this is a Silent Hill game because it is based on that. A girl's war with her inner demons and how that manifests. But obviously there are other aspects of the series that people really cling to as well, and this
Yeah,
doesn't
lore
have
stuff.
those things
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
for sure.
I do
Um,
want to say though, what just going back to what you said with the interpretation of things and like how you're kind of trying to piece together and assume what the story is as you're going, you're trying to guess. That was my favorite aspect here, and I think
mm,
that's why it's flawed, and I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 or anything, but
Yeah,
I do think I'm going to remember it. And
absolutely.
at
Mhm.
this point, like, I rate that very highly in my heart, where I'm like, all right, I'm actually gonna really that one's gonna stick with me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even too in terms of like what you were saying, where it's like you think where it's going, and you're having some guesses along the way. I also found it so interesting going in as a Silent Hill fan and reading some things or starting to put together the story and automatically in my head assuming the worst possible direction
Mm,
or
mm,
the
mm, mm.
darkest possible interpretation of that.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was interesting as an exercise, like for the writer to kind of like conjure that out of me. It was
Mhm.
Mm,
fun. It was cool.
mm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
am digging it.
yeah. So I don't know. Look. This is the thing. The arc of history is long, and one of the posts I saw in like the subreddit was like, a magazine article talking about like Silent Hill 2 back when it released, and this game
Mm,
sucks,
yeah.
and I think most Silent Hill games have been divisive upon their arrival, and then the community kind of comes to a view about like, well, what do we think about this and what have you. I just firmly believe that even though not everyone is going to like this and feel, I just feel like it's going to find its place as a game that's really worth experiencing. That's saying some really compelling things. That's fearless in its presentation and its willingness to be confronting and disturbing. I think it earns its place in the sort of survival horror pantheon, and that place will be contested by some and not others, but I think it's going to be there. I think people are going to talk about it in the years to come. They're going to remember it, because
Mm.
this is a real shot in the arm for the survival horror genre. I think. I mean, I certainly look at like Chronos: The New Dawn, and then I'm not sure. Did you guys play that one?
Not
Still no.
yet.
Okay.
I had to kind of move on to
Yeah.
Silent Hill and Yote, but it
Sure.
is on my list.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed Chronos: The New Dawn a lot.
Mm.
I visually, it's spectacular. Its survival horror combat is so good.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
sold
sort of,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's super good. But the story stuff really, I wasn't into it. I just wasn't.
Mm.
And some people were. It's cool, but it felt weak there. And I feel like I'm trying to remember some of the biggest, most iconic moments in that game from a story perspective, and I kind of can't. And I finished that game like 2 weeks ago, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Whereas the stuff with Silent Hill F, I'm like, nah, man, I'm not going to be forgetting that anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that boss battle. I'm going to remember that cutscene. I'm going to remember that thing that he or she said, right? And for me, with like a survival horror game, that's so important. Just that searing into your brain, like that. That's what this game delivers. That Chronos didn't. And as I said, I enjoyed both for different reasons.
I am curious to know what you think just about I've been getting a lot of questions, people saying, uh, should this be my first Silent Hill game? What do you think?
What do you think, Luce?
I
Yeah, because it's
mean,
your
is it
This
first.
is your
is
So
first
it
Silent Hill game, so like, I mean,
it's
yeah,
made
like,
me really want to play other Silent Hills, even though I know they will be very different.
yeah, right, okay.
I applaud it for so many things. Um, like confronting subject matter, psychological horror, those kind of vibes. Um, that's made me excited to finally jump into Silent Hill.
Yeah. I think I think that Silent Hill 2 remake should be your first Silent Hill game. I know a lot of people will disagree. They're like, no, you should go back and play the original Silent Hill 1 on emulator. No one's gonna fucking do
that's
that, man.
yeah, like
Okay.
I love that. That's my favorite one, but like
Sure.
it's rough. It's
It's
rough.
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like, for your average person who has never played a Silent Hill game, are you gonna ask them to go back and play it? No. So like, what should they actually play? And I think they should play Silent Hill 2 remake. And I think it's a really brilliant, brilliant game. I loved it. I
Mm.
I don't think this is Silent Hill F is as strong as that,
Mhm.
but I still think it's really worth experiencing for sure.
And
Well, because
I
that's the
think
thing. Do you want people to start with the actual best one and then be disappointed by the second one, or do you want them to start with like the
I
pretty great one and then you get to
no, I
experience
don't
the
think
best?
so. So I
I think
think
it's yeah, I don't agree.
Silent Hill 2, it like original Silent Hill 2 it wasn't my favorite Silent Hill,
Mm.
but I think like the remake is a good way of like jumping in and seeing like, okay,
Mm,
I get what people generally like about this franchise. It's a good
mm,
example. And then I think that your enjoyment of Silent Hill F would be more if you were more aware of Silent Hill.
Okay. Okay.
I think so too. I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, you're
Mm.
right. You're right. Yeah, because you'll also be able to understand and appreciate those differences. And yeah, I,
Mm.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, yeah. So I think one thing though is interesting. A lot of discussion about price on this one.
Yeah.
Mm.
A lot of people saying like, okay, this is cool, but it's not worth like it's a full price product. I think it's like $70 or whatever. and they're like, "Nah, man, it's the," because they're like, "Oh, it's 10 hours long, and you got to
Yeah.
finish it multiple times. The combat is jank, like the visuals are meh." They feel like it doesn't feel like a premium product, and it should kind of be like in that $50 category. I don't know. I can see an argument for that. I definitely
Mhm.
this you
I
can
lean
clearly
towards that. Yeah.
you can clearly see this was made on a budget, and I think that Konami probably would have done themselves some favors had they priced it about $50 because it would have got that goodwill. I think it would have set the right expectations to market about like, level of polish and whatever else.
Yeah.
Game length I'm less sympathetic to because I actually think the 10 hours for a survival horror game is kind of the standard.
Yeah.
Less so these days, they get a bit longer in the modern era, but like I think it's in the ballpark. But yeah, I do think that charging $70 for this, I can understand how people bristle at that price point for sure.
Yeah. I agree. Just
Yeah.
play it eventually. That's what
Yeah, that's it.
that's
That's
what I
it.
kind of have to say at this point.